All right, welcome back to our conversation series. It's about building depth in business. And as an entrepreneur, I've had the privilege of gaining some experience along the path. I've definitely done it the bumpy, hard way, and it's my hope to share with you so that you don't have to do that, but ultimately build on the best of what's brought us here. And we're just going to dive right in. Where we were in our last conversation was about understanding the orientation that your client has, not just to their money, not just to their marketplace in terms of how they perceive value, but also their relationship intention in their persona regarding work. And my emphasis was on reoccurring and necessary and urgent work, and seeing if your client profile matches that, or they at least have a measure of work that was reoccurring or necessary and urgent. And some of the examples of necessary urgent work that we touched on were, if you're going to be a painter, painting for maintenance on an apartment building can be a reoccurring work because hallways always need to just generally season fresh up. Think spring cleaning, or if you're cutting the grass as a landscaper, as distinct from building custom retaining walls. Not that building custom retaining walls is bad. But it's necessary perhaps, but it's not urgent work. Often working for new home construction or developers, it's necessary. They have to put a retaining wall in this example. But whether they do it this week, next week, or they're often quoting months in advance of it. So the urgency that adds value to your ability as a business owner, the value you can deliver timely, professional, quality work in a time box, it kind of takes that piece away, which is part of the magic of an efficient business, a business that's connected to the relationality of time. So again, my emphasis is, if you're building retaining walls, you can do that all the time. Sure, that can be a business and people get paid well to do that if it's in demand. The other portion would be fixing a retaining wall that collapsed. Necessary and super urgent. And, working for highways, DOT, or insurance companies, or municipalities, or people that actually care about this. The road has to reopen, or the retaining wall has to be made. All those things really matter. And then we touched on the value in the digital space of finding clients that have reoccurring work. We talked about real estate agents or property managers who are constantly promoting things. But then even in digital space, there can be necessary and urgent work like seasonal changes, like the fall rollout of a new menu versus the coming into summer. If you're working with a restaurant, the menu updates are on one aspect, the marketing aspects, the communication, the website, the branding, and all these things. The seasonality produces a natural cadence of urgency because it's coming. And so urgency doesn't have to be bad, but it is your opportunity in business to recognize it, position yourself at the point of need, which is what we discussed earlier. Using a can of Coke analogy, you'll pay more for a can of Coke at the vending machine on a hot day than you will at the supermarket when you buy it by the flat. So those things just, again, we don't have the privilege right now to discuss the nuances of your business. But what I can do is invite you into the reflection that I've had over the years that's helped pave the way to this point. And I want you to play this over in your mind. If you have questions, there'll be ways for us to contact, whether you're doing this on the YouTube or on the YouTube channel or on the Net Zero to Hero podcast. My hope is that there's a value exchange here, and we're going to get to discover how to do that in a meaningful way. So here we are, jumping in. A couple of things that I didn't get to discuss is the time between quoting and contract, and the difference between a sales funnel, sales cycle, and project completion. So one of the things I've done over the years is start to unpackage themes, because I feel like themes produce deep understanding. Humans are story people. We understand stories, and I wanted to practice relating content to my team. I wanted to understand it personally. I'm not interested. I hope you notice in this whole series, sometimes people talk about ideas, concepts, things that they're aspiring towards. That's not what this is. This isn't a space for me to try to show off. This is a space where we get to draw from what's real, what's transpired, what I possess, what our business does. It's just That's this space. This isn't a conceptual theoretical space. And if I step into that, I'll acknowledge it, going, hey, this is what I'm thinking, I'm anticipating, but it's not rooted. As business owners, our ego lives in the land of opportunity, but our essence is rooted in what is. There's reality. And this is why I wanted to have these conversations, because when I was taking my business, my MBA, or some project management certifications, even my energy advisor piece, it's like there's so much ethereal crap. It's like, this isn't what it is when you're really doing it, and it's life's all about making spreadsheets, happy and ideal contexts. And I'm like, no, this isn't valuable to the people that actually care about making a meaningful difference and have the responsibility to do business. So different orientation of the conversation. Again, depth. It's where the roots live, so that you can have some substance, draw on something substantial, and then hopefully share that, because the goal in business is not just to accumulate. It's I've discovered that distribution, orientation of distribution, is what draws me to this place. If I wanted to make money on this, I would have put it on a course, teachable. You'd have to sign up. In fact, I did years back when I started a consulting company. I'm like, I'm going to make online courses. I'm going to monetize these things. I'm going to move out of construction and get paid to deliver content, because I wanted to accumulate more wealth, and that was a way to get paid to do it. And I said, why do I need to turn my relationships into dollar bills? Like, this is why this is free. This is an evolution, because I continue to grow as I will. This isn't about monetizing. This is about distributing. I know what's caused our business to succeed, because I've spent some time in reflection and been attentive along the way. It's called paying attention, and that's just. And again, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I don't aspire to be that. There's lots of people in business making even more money than I do. That's totally fine too. I think my contribution isn't any of this content. It's that I paid attention along the way, so I can share with you what occurred. That's it. And it's helped me. The attentiveness has helped me in business, because when I saw something that worked, I could continue doing it, and I was attentive to what actually didn't work, instead of blinding myself or blame it on the client, blame it on the weather, blame it on my team. I was attentive to what didn't work and internalized that, evolved, and progressed. So that works. So saying all that because we're going to talk about themes. So time between quoting and contracting. This was a major shift in my business. I used to, knock. I used to go knock on doors. Do you need painting services, or if somebody needed small? I was started as a painter. So we're modest beginnings. And it's like, if you needed, you'd call me if you needed painting this week, next week, or kind of within a series of days or weeks. I was quoted the work for Mrs. Jones. I'd get the job, do it. Well, then I started getting more sophisticated, elaborate contracting opportunities, because I became more trustworthy, in what I would deliver. And the time between when you're quoting a $170,000 job, it's like, we're talking, it used to take me, I remember I spent a week on a $4,000 painting quote. It was like $4,382. And I would have been 25, 26. And it was just like, because I just wanted to get like, how many rolls of tape am I going to need? How many paintbrushes? How many gallons of paint? How much is, like, down to the, if a gallon of paint was $65.12, it was like down to the 12 cents. It's like, it just took me a long time, because I was so afraid of losing money. And that's when I was making, the 17, maybe 20, 22 bucks an hour, whatever that range was. It was modest. And there was so much concern, because they wanted a fixed price, and I didn't want to get it wrong. And I was just so afraid of like the risk of loss. And then, obviously you go fast forward, and we fast forwarded a couple of years, and I'm doing a $170,000 job, and it's got to go through strata approval and board approval and council meetings, and oh my goodness, I think I quoted in spring, and then I got a call in October. It says, okay, we got you approved, and it was like this big, and then we got approved, and the job happened. It was awesome, and I was pretty proud, because that was a couple of years past that. I would have been 29 or so, and I was making like $1,700 an hour. It's like, what happened at the end of that project? We obviously learned some things along the way, but I took the lump sum of the project and backed out the hours required, and it was an honest reflection, and I was like, wow, that changes everything. But I had to finance that overhead for 6-7 months, and then I had to finance the project and the equipment, the materials, and the people. That's when I learned that being a contractor meant being a bank, and nobody had trained me for that. They don't teach you that in trade school. So it was this really interesting thing that the relationship with time became present, and what I realized, if I was willing to be patient, there were opportunities. And then I had to learn how to communicate better, because they started getting in the queue for these bigger projects that had to go through board approvals. But it didn't mean that I had evolved my my communication, because what I had done is realized that I'm a customer service company. I didn't recognize at the time that I sell trust, but I'm a customer service company, and I was working with property managers because I was doing odd maintenance jobs, and I realized that if I come to your house as a private homeowner, you're going to ask me to do this one odd maintenance job, and then that's kind of it. Like, I did it and it's done. But if I work for somebody that has multiple properties, I can go to that one client and they can send me to 10 different houses over the years. So my business was serving property managers, and that was great. It really helped me orient to from the business, like selling my services to customers, to selling my services to businesses. And these businesses had people in them, and so I started to work on trustability, which meant time. You know, if I said I'd be there on Tuesday at 9 o'clock and they do the work to phone the homeowner, say Brandon needs access at Tuesday at 9 o'clock, by golly, I would show up. And I'd show up, I'd be polite, respectable, clean, you know, doesn't have to be like a fancy uniform, but a clean t-shirt and a nice pair of jeans, and took my shoes off when I entered the house. And these kind of things just meant that when the property manager dispatched me to go do some work, they didn't get callback from the tenants, and they didn't get callbacks from the owners, and there was this element of trust. And it worked brilliantly, because now I was managing 5 relationships. Even in those years, it might have been 3. And but I had enough work to survive, which was awesome. And then the opportunity came to, well, if you can do painting at this scale, if you can do stucco repair at this scale, hey, we have a strata that's really struggling to find a repair contractor. So I was able to put in a proposal for this larger contract that was over my head, really, at that point. And because I, again, had no training in this, but I was just willing to work hard and try, say yes to an opportunity, and it was my relationship with the property manager that got me through the strata hearings, because I don't think my proposal was that strong. I don't think I was still trying to go like, pick us, we do quality work. It's kind of like the best is like in my little portfolio. It didn't even come into play. And but you know, Susie is the property manager, and she trusted us, and she rightfully so. Like, we had never let her down, and she advocated, and the strata was a reasonably complex problem. It was a massive strata complex resort facility, and we emphasized that we can be flexible with time and people, and we got the job, and we did a great job at it. And then when one of the strata managers, you know, at the end of the project, he's in business too, he kind of figured out how much money we made. We never got called back, but that's fine. It's not like that was the individual strata. But one of the things that occurred to me, realizing that my proposals needed to improve, because they had to go sit through the scrutiny of not just the property manager had to trust me, which is where I was, but the property manager had to hand my proposal to a strata council that I had never met, or maybe will never ever meet. And then they had to look at it and decide amongst themselves. So there's the life of a strata. Like, if you're on strata council, oh, that's a tough position, because in this case they had several hundred owners that were, you know, scrutinizing these 12 people's decision, which contractor to go through, why is this necessary, do we even have to, special general levy, all the pressure. So the strata council had to look at the stuff. Then they had to take it to an AGM where it was distributed to anybody who wanted to see it, and then they had to have a resolution vote, and then they had to follow that up with either ultimate approval or some meetings with me to do project planning. And that's a major process. That takes time and due diligence, and they're legally responsible for that. The strata council can't cut corners, plus they're not paid, and it's such a pain in the butt for them. And it's where, and after having put in a couple of proposals and just being declined, I realized that I need to communicate value with my proposals, my quotes, in a very different way. And I need to see through the lens of the people that are being scrutinized in order to answer the questions that I expect they're going to be asked. My ability to do that grew over time. I was always curious, why didn't this work? I wasn't just chasing yeses. I started chasing nos and problems and getting really curious about issues, not just avoiding issues. But it was awesome. Like, we got better at it, and all of a sudden it's like, there was a period of years where we're competitively bidding. This isn't, I don't want to give you the impression this is a free-for-all. It's like, they're going out and getting their other quotes. These quotes are based on relationships. I've been invited by the property manager, so I'm like, I'm willing to put the time in to respect the people. They need numbers for Stratus. They can do a multi-bid scenario, so when they go to the AGM, they can say they're picking the lowest price or the best value or whatever they're doing. So these are all, I'm competing for price. And oftentimes I was the lowest because that's why I would win. Or at least on par. Occasionally down the road we were winning even if we were the higher price contract because of our reputation. But most of the time we're within a percent or two of the same price, so we're equivalently priced or low, and I was winning 100% of the bids that we did near, which is remarkable because if you're in contracting, you know that you're trying to get 2% of your bids. That's what you're aiming for, 1 to 2% close rate, and I was doing 100 on a slow year. Typically over the last 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever it's been, it's about 28, 8 out of 10 is kind of like the typical for us. So again, our niche clients, we tailor our communication to be very niche to our clientele so that it tends to address them. We're not sending emails out with the price to do the repaired contracting is this. Thanks, Brandon. There's more to it, but I want to share with you what helped communicate the value that you can deliver as a company so that you can ultimately close your sales and build your business. Because if you don't get the opportunity to actually go to work, then it's just harder to do that. So sales funnel, sales cycles, project completion. So a sales funnel is all the people that are out there for us. If I want to use unlimited contracting and property managers, we just did a list. How many? There's 15 property management firms, or 27 or something like that. And we called them all. That was our sales funnel. It's like, hey, this is what we do, and developed a bit of a language, and we could, over the years, do you have any issues with these things? This is what we do. So we had a sales funnel of the 27 people. And then we went into maintenance facilities, so facility managers, so a lot of commercial businesses or lots of wineries, breweries. We were the go-to maintenance people for them. Some of the big names in the Okanagan Valley, they're our clients, and they're reoccurring clients. And oftentimes necessary and urgent work because factory shutdown after the grapes come off is this, and we have 7 days to get all of our maintenance done for the whole year, and we need this concrete done, and can you do the concrete portion? And yes, that was the answer. So the sales funnel is who are your target clients, whoever they are in your niche. And I hope you narrow down so that all the property managers, it's like property managers for residential, property managers commercial, very different. Are they people? Where did they fit? But where do the property managers' clients fit? And what language do they need to hear? Which do you deliver? Do you want to be there, we'll paint anything, anytime? Or do you want to be there, we'll paint it when it's in crisis? Just orient yourself, and again, understanding the pressures they're under so that you can narrow your sales funnel so that you're not wasting time. Because if you have restaurants as your sales funnel, you might have hundreds or thousands in your agent. And if you look at the web as a potential, then there's millions. So if you're moving into digital space. So your sales cycle is like the time between bid and contract. And this is all client profile dependent, not necessarily B2B or B2C dependent. Like property managers have a bit of a due diligence process that takes time. Insurance companies, they have the sales cycle is, even if I put in a bid, I know that a lot of clients, they won't even process the paperwork, look at it, review it, get it approved any sooner than 6 weeks. But I know a lot of homeowners too. It's like they need their thing done, they'll get a quote and they'll think about it for 3 months. It's like it's a client dependent, it's a personality dependent, or a process dependent thing. So you need to understand that going forward, that the sales cycle will depend on your client, not just whether they're a business or a person. So find clients that work for you, or get really good at weeding them out. So when do you expect to have an answer on this? There's this decision. Hey, listen, you're looking at this project. Great. So when are you, how long have you been looking at it? Good indicator. Look in the rearview mirror if you want to project the future. Oh yeah, we've been thinking about this for the last 4 years. Oh, cool. So why now? What's bringing this to the front now? Oh, my wife's getting, antsy because my daughter's getting married. Oh, perfect. When she's getting married? Oh, she's getting married at Christmas. Got 6 months from now. Okay. Like, so do you want this done in the spring, or are you gonna kind of wait till the last minute? And you start asking questions to get a sense of what your client urgency is. It's like, no, I just been thinking about doing it for 6 years, and maybe I'll do it this year, maybe I won't. Okay, awesome. They're probably not going to be on the top of my list, client dependent, but you also need to understand your market. So if you're coming into a new market, like I was, from working with people to working with property managers, it's totally fair to ask, hey, listen, send in a quote. Just how long does it typically take to get an answer back? 3 months. Okay, good to know. Perfect. And that's a fair question so that you're setting your expectations, because what you don't want to do is, if your client has a six week to 3 month approval process, is call them on week 2, call them on week 3, call them on week 4, because nothing's going to happen, and they're going to feel annoyed, and they're going to know that you're junior in your industry, at least in that market segment. So once I realized that I got quotes that are 3 months old that I'm not following up because I know that there's no answer. It's just because I understand my client and their relationship with decisions. And you need to understand that from your business, from a cash flow perspective, because you're paying your team, your people, and if your industry has a 3 month sales cycle, you need to be quoting work that you're doing now for 3 months from now, so that you don't get done this work and then be out of work and have to wait 3 months to get more work and all these. So that's part of understanding the cadence of your business, and it's one of the things that we didn't do well. I was patient, so I was willing to wait the time, and this is how I figured out these bigger opportunities sometimes come at slower paces, but I wasn't focused on getting things in the hopper now for later. So that meant for years and ongoing. Like, it's just, we have to lay off our crew when the work dries out in the fall, and the natural cycle of construction comes to a close in Kelowna mid-November, coming into Christmas through to February. There's just not a lot of going on. There's not a lot of action. It was hard for our crew. It was surprising for me at times, and yeah, it was just one of those things that I wasn't attentive to my quoting in August, so that I had work in January, because I was busy in August. September and October. September is the busiest month of the year for us. October close second. It wasn't July and August. They're both busy, but everyone's like running into Christmas and winter and getting all their stuff done. So that's when the urgency, the seasonality created urgency for us in construction, and I was flying. So again, I still don't think that I do the best job at anticipating funnel, because our work is primarily repair work. I've very much in the necessary and urgent is where I live. That's where I've oriented our business, because that's what works for us, which means that we don't predict it. And so I'm not saying I'm acknowledging the limitations of my experience with what I do and possess, the walk I walk. It just, when things break, we get called, we're good at it. That's the nature of it, which also means I have a lot of time to do things like this and other extracurricular activities that like doing EIR work and working with tech companies, and just all the extraneous things that really are the pleasure of being an entrepreneur, is having the time flexibility. So I haven't pressured myself to fill my schedule. I've been enjoying the cadence that has allowed all the extra pieces outside of the contracting to be the lifeblood of a life well lived. Again, it's not just about accumulating more money. We have plenty. We're provided for. It's okay. I'm all right. Could I make more? Yes. Do I need more? No. And that was a lesson that I'm thankful came early in my 30s. Because we made enough money for the year, and then we made more than enough money, and then we made more and more money, and it was like, when does this stop? And it needs to stop somewhere, and it stops when you say it does. And contentment's hard to come by. Again, going back to that therapy thing that I brought up early on, it might be one of the most controversial of all the business concepts that we discuss, but why it's so relevant is if you're not reevaluating your outlook and your internal disposition, you can run your life and your business from a point of scarcity and survival rather than thriving. And millions of dollars won't stop that. And I saw it. I saw it in other people's life, and I tasted it in mine. You know, I was privileged to make a solid six-figure income, and then I doubled it the next year, and all I had was more extra. My stress didn't go down, and my life didn't get any better, and all that happened is more money went in my savings account. You know, didn't end up working anymore. It was still, you know, it was just, it wasn't the answer. More money wasn't the answer. And again, that attentiveness, I stopped and said, okay, what am I doing here? Because I got lots of examples of people that, what do we do this year? Let's do 5% better next year. And it's like this brain dead approach to business economics that sucks the soul out of life in the marketplace, and I think ultimately contributes to some of the degradation we're seeing, because there's like this extractive, exploitive, entrepreneurial disposition that's just fanned and applauded, and it's not in balance, harmony, reciprocity, relationship. I'm not against making money. I make lots of money. In fact, I take a great deal of satisfaction in being elegant in the way that we're in relationship with finances and lots of finances. It's just, again, that reservoir, it comes, it fills, and then it releases, and there's a reciprocity with ourselves and the community, and not a need to just constantly get more. Finding the balance for you and your needs and your business overhead and things like that, that is a very challenging, deep, thoughtful, reflective exercise, and I'll leave that to you to do, because I trust you with it. It's your business. You're in it. You're in it, and you're an important part of it, and which means it's yours to do, and you're there for a reason. So take the time to do that reflection. And as we close here, the project completion. So we talked about sales funnel, which is all the opportunity you have, and then once you get an opportunity to quote, to bid, the sales cycle, which is the time from bid to contract award. Hopefully you get more of those than you lose, and then project completion. And this is jumping into another lean principle, which is like tack time or throughput or cycle time. And project completion is really important, because once it's in your hands, can you complete? And if you have things like a website to do, you know, 3-page website, that like you should start to understand the mechanics. If you cut grass and it's like you have the mechanics of the similar thing in this reoccurring business model, if you do the same thing over and over again, you should start to understand what a delivery time window is, and because while it's in your hands, you're responsible for it, and oftentimes that's the line between, you know, you won the project and when you get paid is like measuring delivery time. So especially when you're on contract and you're billing upon completion or substantial completion. So all right, this one went a little longer. Thank you for sticking with me. Yeah, there's a lot of nuance here. And I went on some rants or rambles, whatever. Just I dove into some things that are personal, because I think that's where the depth lies, and I don't want to withhold from you things that are at the center of what's valuable for me in business as an entrepreneur and inside our contracting company. Again, this isn't about being better than anybody. This is about our journey. This is about your journey. Discover where you're in harmony with your business, what you desire your business to be, but also what your business in itself, the pulse of your business, desires to be. So look forward to exploring this further with you in later conversations. Thanks. Have a great day.